my sort of Chiron, really. When I came here about 18 months ago to drive a standard Chiron, I was really interested to see what that car was like in a good piece of road, in a sort of surroundings where you drive a sort of a more ordinary, conventional, less powerful, a big, monstrous Audi R8, I suppose, in terms of the way that the four-wheel drive reacted, but there was real agility in there. This should be that turned up even more. It takes some inspiration from the Gran Turismo Vision concept that you might have seen it at race shows in the past. Color scheme, agile blue agile, but it's also obviously two-tone, and the black bit's lower down are meant to sort of blend it into the road, make it look even lower and more sleek. So let's get on to some of the details about this. The first big thing we should say is that the top speed has come down. So previously it was 420 kilometers an hour, so 261 miles an hour. Now,
okay, so that 420 kilometers per hour on the Chiron was where, if you feel like the limited top speed is not enough for you, then you can use the speed key to activate it up to 420. But damn it. I make sure, Joga, just make sure that your life insurance is paid and you don't pee on your pants.
This is down to 350 kilometers an hour as a top speed, which is a pretty big drop, really. That's 217 miles an hour in old money, which is obviously hardly slow, but slow for a Chiron or a Veyron, what we've come to expect from Bugatti. But the reasons for that are, well, they'll become apparent, hopefully, as we walk around the car, because it's allowed them to do all sorts of things.
I think this is a beautiful color, though. This blue and black, it's a dope color. It's a dope. Yeah, and then when you look at the bottom here, you can see nice carbon fiber. Nice, and the wing there has carbon fiber traits as well. Nice. But the problem is, it's money. Would you pay 100,000 million rand for this car?
Let's start with the aerodynamics, because as we walk around the front here, we've also got the big opening here, extra vents in here, but this big splitter. That, if you go into the back, we'll see the big rear wing to match it up. But let's walk around to the suspension as well, because this is where things get, I think, really interesting. Also on the aerodynamics front, we've got the vents on the top of the arches here, relieving pressure from within those arches, I show. That's sort of what they're there for, to help with the downforce. These wheels, now, they are pretty special. They're magnesium, because that helps conduct the heat away from the brakes rather than being fully carbon. There are also on these ones the optional carbon parts, and it's a sort of turbofan effect, I suppose. So they suck the air out of there, which helps firstly in terms of obviously taking the heat away from the brakes, but also allows it to relieve pressure again from these arches. And they discovered it actually then attaches better down the side of the car, so it helps in the reduction of drag that way as well. They're lighter too, so all round these wheels save 16 kilos, which is obviously unsprung mass but also rotational mass. Overall the car weighs 50 kilos less. There's another 3 kilos saved in unsprung mass from the titanium backplates on the brakes in there, and also from the discs themselves. So that's a pretty big saving, actually, 19 kilos overall in unsprung mass. And that then is sort of reflected in the suspension, because this car is obviously, it's meant to be more agile, and they've changed the camber on this. So this is now running 2.5 degrees of negative camber. Now, at the risk of teaching my grandmother to suck eggs, negative camber, so it means the top of the wheel is further in than the bottom of the wheel. So that's the opposite to what you would actually see on, say, an old Bugatti Type 35, where it's like that. The reason for doing that is because it helps the car turn into the corner. The obviously, if you're trying to get a maximum top speed, you want to really run zero camber, because that will create less drag. So by reducing top speed, not going for top speed, it's allowed them to add in the negative camber, make it more agile. You see how it all has a knock-on effect. The suspension in here, they've had to redesign the wishbones in order to run that camber. It's also got carbon anti-roll bars in there. We've also got stiffer springs, so 65% stiffer at the front, 33% stiffer at the rear, retuned dampers as well. Let's move down the side of the car a bit more. You can see this is actually, it's blue, it's not just blue and black, this is actually naked carbon fibre here as well.
Carbon fibre.
Tyres, let's talk about those as well, because that's all part of the package on this that makes it really pretty special. Michelin has designed a new...
Yeah, so it's blue and naked carbon fibre.
Tyre for this. Tyres have always been obviously a big issue for this car, because again, if you're going for really high top speeds, then that becomes perhaps the governing factor in terms of what tyres you fit to this. So up front we've got a 285 section on a 20-inch rim. At the rear, a little 355 section on a 21-inch rim. I think 355s are the biggest tyres available on any production car still. But these are a Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2R, and they're meant to increase lateral grip by 10% and generally just make a big difference to the car. So it will be interesting to see how that affects it if and when, hopefully, we get to drive this. More news about this round at the back. So here is obviously the huge rear wing at the back of the car, all this swathe of sort of naked carbon down here. And in terms of design, the thing that they're sort of looking at the back that you can see here, you've got this big X shape where this sort of the struts for this then link into the rear diffuser. Down here we've got beautiful 3D printed titanium exhausts, and you can tell they're all one big piece that are up here, but then
That is a nice exhaust. They're expensive. They look expensive. To a car that's very expensive.
some wonderful detailing just in there. They're absolutely spectacular. Obviously a huge rear diffuser, which is a massive part of creating the extra downforce.
Look at it. It's really nice though. I grant. Money. All that carbon fiber. Money.
In this car. Inside, let's talk about the engine. We still have 1500 horsepower, which is 1471 brake horsepower. Torque, 1180 pounds-foot of torque, so that's the same as in a standard Chiron. However, what is different about this? Well, it revs 200 RPM higher, so it's up to 6,900 RPM. But it's the gearbox that's had a massive overhaul in this car. The internals of the gearbox, well, they're 80% different. Overall, the gearing is shorter by 15%. Which should be pretty extraordinary. The acceleration times, so 0 to 62 miles an hour, is down to 2.3 seconds, which is only a tenth quicker, a couple of tenths quicker to 124, so that's now just below 6 seconds at 5.9 seconds. But it's what they're calling the elasticity of the engine that's really different, because the new fifth gear is actually about the same as the old fourth gear, and then that's had a knock-on effect, so the sixth gear is shorter than the previous fifth gear, seventh shorter than the sixth, etc., etc. So you know what I mean? So in sixth gear, from 60 to 120 kilometers an hour, which is about 37 miles an hour to 75 miles an hour. Previously, it took 7.4 seconds. Now, just 4.4 seconds, which is extraordinary, really. That sort of acceleration in a car like this. In terms of the handling and everything, inside the car we've got more Alcantara and sort of adds to that lightweight feel. But the big thing is on the switch, the lovely oily switch, which I talk about and I've waxed lyrical about before in terms of the feel of it. There's now a new setting, which is Sport Plus, which apparently allows easy drifting quite how you drift a car that weighs 1,946 kilos with a W16 engine. I'm not quite sure, but it should be interesting trying to find out. I think overall, this car, you might ask, sort of, why?
Like, I don't. Why would you do that? Why would you drive this car? Okay, so a car that cost up to $5 million, and then in our currency, that's probably like I don't know, 100,000 rand, and then you wanna switch it to drift mode, and then you will drive it like a hooligan. Then I don't know. Then if I was you, I could just get a Gusheshe or get a Vrupa, Golf GTI. Yeah, those cars can drift, but I mean you can drift the 100 million rand car. Are you nuts?
Do this to a Chiron, which its big party piece was all about the top speed. Why try and make it more agile, why try and make it into a sports car? Why make it something that perhaps you think it's not? Because actually trying to drive something like this with this sort of mass, this sort of engine, quickly down a good piece of road is incredibly engaging. Having tried to do it, and done it, it's quite an experience. And the other thing is obviously by being able to shorten gearing, not go for that top speed, you have a car.
This is a type of car, if you could own it in South Africa or import this car from Europe to South Africa, this is the type of a car you could you give traffic officers a go. Let's drive, and see if they could catch you on the
Well, that is in certain situations even quicker. Not faster, but quicker. So there we are. The Chiron Pur Sport. A car that, well, I really hope I get to drive because it's potentially is my sort of Chiron, as I said before. The price? €3 million plus taxes, and they're only going to build 60. So it should be a pretty rare thing, but potentially a pretty cool thing as well.